Hello everyone, I'm so excited to announce my next location. It's going to be to St. Louis, and I'll talk a little bit more of that later, but I want to show you how I created this card. It's going to be a quick, fast-paced video. I'm just feeling very anxious today. So these are the stamps I'm using. I just thought I'd show you how I'm masking them. It's so fun to mask and watch something like come together before your eyes. And then I'm just using some colored pencil to freehand some stems. And what I'm using today is Tombow watercolor markers. I'm going to speed a lot of this up, but what I've been doing is I color a line of the marker on your petal. I stamped with some beige distress ink, and then I just see where the brush is, I water that area, and then I bring the color into that area. If I get too much pigment on my brush, I'll dab it on the cloth. And I cut some of that out so you don't get dizzy seeing my hand go all around. Sorry. So, there's a lot of different reds and pinks, so I'm alternating different colors to get some variation without having to think about adding shading, which I'll do later because I can never stop. I can't stop myself. I wish I could. I need a psychiatrist. So anyway, so I did the purple one off camera, and I'm just doing like a first coat on the leaves. This whole thing so far is one coat. Now I'm adding another layer. So I picked up a red marker. You can see the lid on my left. It's actually kind of a brown red. And I'm just putting some in the nooks and crannies, and then I'm using my damp brush to spread that color out. And sometimes I pick up some water. You just got to play with the water, but always start with the damp brush because you can always add more water. You don't want to just like throw too much water down, and that's something you just have to play with. Now you can see I keep adding this line of color, and then I'm softening it with the brush, and I'm just kind of going in the corners of all the petals. I just want to create some color variation with the pinks that I used initially. And once I finish this, I really could stop the card, but like I mentioned earlier, I just can never stop myself. But anyway, I mean, I love to color. That's why my blog is the Daily Marker, and that's why it's difficult for me to stop. What I should do is just pick up another image. So now on the leaves, I have a brighter green, and I'm putting that on the other side of the leaf, and I'm just pulling that color down with a damp brush. So easy. Before I started the second layer of color, everything was dry. So again, before I started that second layer of color, it was dry, so you could heat set it, or you could just come back at a later date. Now I'm adding a little bit of brown on the petals, like a dark brown, and I have a super fine tip marker. I don't love this. It kind of absorbs into the image, but it's all that I had. I just wanted to create a little bit of definition and some little character lines, some little rips and tears. And, you know, you be the judge. Like, should I have added these? I don't know. This is, you know, where I guess I need to learn to stop. So now I have a Copic 0.03 brown marker, and I'm just adding some accent lines. There's lines in the illustration, so I'm just tracing over those and then just sharpening up a line on the stem. And now I have a purple, and I just did some stuff on the purple. So now I want to do like a halo, an accent around the flowers, and I'm just going underneath the petals and the leaves with a medium gray Tombow watercolor marker. And then on top of that medium gray, I'm going to color with this lighter gray and soften that harsher line, and then I'll use water just to soften this gray that I'm using. So it's so easy, and it just gives like some little warm highlights. I don't worry about where the light's coming from or anything like that. But this is always worth doing. Sometimes I like to use a bright blue. When I'm finished adding these gray highlights, I'm going to use a heat gun to set it. And now I want to stamp my sentiment. I'm going to emboss it with white. I'm just using some powder. And I'm going to cut out the sending. I want to pop that. It's a 1-layer card, so I want a little bit of dimension somewhere. So I'm cutting that out, and then I'm going to stamp the other part of the sentiment here on my card. I'm using some Tim Holtz watercolor paper, and I like the bumpy side. So I use the Post-it note to cover up sending. So when I stamped it, I wouldn't stamp the word sending since I'm going to pop it. And I didn't want to keep on putting the Post-it and keep on using ink, so I just took a Sharpie marker and filled in the areas where it didn't stamp because the paper was bumpy. Now I have the chisel end of a Copic marker, and I just want, since this paper is a little beige compared to my Nina, I like to use that Copic marker on the edge. And there's my popped sending, which I'm going to add later. And then, you know me, I can't walk away. It's dry. I want to add just a little bit more color. So I have an orange Tombow, and I just put a little in the corners and a damp brush, and I'm just adding that extra layer of color. I love how you can get layers of color with these Tombow markers. So, and now on the purple, I always like to add red, so I'm just flicking in a little bit of color with that marker, and then I'm going to blend that out with the brush. Super easy, kind of dumb, just because I should have stopped perhaps. I don't know. What do you think? Anyway, so I'm just filling in those little areas, and then this is how it turned out. So you can see that range of color. I always try and go for a softer look, and it never really happens. Thank you so much for watching. A thumbs up is always appreciated. I'll link the supplies, and then check out, there's only limited space in the St. Louis with Power Poppy. So thank you and have a great day.